Hey everybody, welcome to the Backstage Pass with yours truly, Mr. Jared Lee. Today I got an awesome guest. She's very awesome, and I love that she uses that word all the time, Rhonda Head. I'm going to bug you a little bit about that, but let me tell you, this person is an Indigenous, international superstar. So let's get to this bio. Who is my guest for tonight? I'll tell you right quick. Rhonda Head bio. Here we go. Rhonda Head is from Opaskwayak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. Rhonda is a mezzo-soprano. She received 14 nominations in total and won 6 international music awards since she began her music career in 2010. She writes her lyrics in her Indigenous Cree language and composes her melodies based off the landscape in her home reserve of Opaskwayak Cree Nation. Rhonda is pleased to share her music with you here today. We're going to be talking a lot about music, some things that are happening currently, and where we're going to go in the future. So Rhonda says this. Here's a quote. No matter what your language you sing in, you can hear the beauty of music through the melody. That's a beautiful quote. So without further ado, I bring to you Rhonda Head!
Hey!
Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. So since you're the one doing all the interviews, you have your own show called Indigenous Superstars. You had me on your show, and you have so many people that are on there, and you're normally doing the interviewing. Now you get to kick back and don't worry about all the stuff, the mechanical stuff we're doing here today, but I get to interview you now. So thanks for being on the show.
I'm thanks for reaching out to me and asking me to interview me. And yeah, that's right. I'm always the one doing the interview.
So let's get right to it. How did you get your start in music? We'll start from there.
I got my start in music when I believe I was in grade 1. My sister was excelling in music, and my parents bought her a piano, and then she started practicing, and I listened to her play, and I'm like, and I heard the tone of the piano and you know, the beautiful keys, and every note that she hit, it would resonate a real beautiful tone and a sound. So I thought, hey, I want to learn how to play that. So I did. They enrolled me in lessons, and I started taking piano lessons, and then I started winning award, and when I started competing against the other students, and myself, me and my sister were the only Indigenous students in the music program, in the piano world, enrolled in piano at the time, and I really excelled. I practiced every day without my parents telling me what to do because I loved it so much. And then my music teacher moved away, and I cried. I was devastated when she left because she really pushed me. And when she left, I couldn't find another teacher that would push me like the way she did, and I didn't lose interest, because I couldn't find another teacher with that level of discipline, and you know, she loved us, and that feeling of love. She oh, hello, Marilyn. So I ended up stopping when I believe I was 14 when I stopped playing. And then when I went into high school, I went into the high school band, and I excelled there. I got A+, and I took clarinet and the alto clarinet, and I didn't even practice. I got A+. So it was just I was always into music, and I was natural to play music. Like, I can read notes, and I could also do it by heart. And then when I got into, I didn't think I was going to be a singer because I was always playing instruments. And then when I moved to Toronto for after high school, I went to college there, and because I didn't know a soul in Toronto, I was thinking outside the box. I was either going to do voice, dancing, or acting. So I thought, well, I have I have music background, so I might as well try voice. So when I went into the phone, back then they had phone books. The phone book was like that thick. So when I went to look for a music teacher, there was like that many pages on yellow pages. There was like an inch thick of music teachers and music schools. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to choose? So I went to the middle of that inch and opened the book, and I just went like this. And I phoned that person that I where my finger landed on. Remember the yellow pages that your fingers do the walking? Well, they did.
They
and
did.
and my finger happened to land on a teacher that lived close by me in Toronto. We were in pretty well in the same neighborhood. And Toronto is like a big metropolis. It's a huge,
Mhm.
huge, huge city. So for me to pick a teacher that was in my neighborhood was like very how do you say, coincidental, or or it might have been in the stars, because when I made my arrangements for lessons with him, uh, he happened to be an opera teacher, and I was open to anything. I allowed whatever he was going to teach me, and the style. So, and that's how I got started in singing, and that's how I got started in the style that I perform in now.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know who you are, what kind of style you would be, I know what style you are, but what kind of style would you describe your music and how you sing?
Okay, when I first started out singing, I started
Mhm.
singing opera arias and musical theater. So I was learning how to like belt and singing in vibrato and singing really. Mezzo soprano is mid range for
Mhm.
people that don't know, and soprano is a higher range. I could reach the soprano notes, but my voice is more. It's a really rich tone that I have, and I'm more comfortable with the mid range of my voice.
Mhm. Yeah, I often wondered how that would would be for like somebody like me. Like I've never sang opera, but I'm like, I wonder what my voice would be. So would I be like a soprano, or would I be like an alto, or baritone, whatever So I always wondered how my voice would stretch to kind of be where I would fit, kind of deal. So when I was talking to you after the show, I asked you, and then you gave me an answer. I was like, oh, okay, that's what I am. Cool. Now I know.
Yeah, there's all a bunch of different voice ranges for sure. Yeah.
Mhm. Life as a musician. How many albums and stuff do you have out? Because I was looking on online, and you got so many albums out from like probably 2015, 2017, 19, 20. So you got a few albums out, right? Let's talk about that.
Well, the first album that I released was in 2010,
Hmm.
and I recorded that in five different languages: in Italian, French, Latin, English, and Cree. And it was the very first time I recorded
Hmm.
an album, and I submitted it to an award show, and I won an award, and it was I was blown away that I won an award for my first album. And the album was called Kayas, like I was really really happy, and because of that, it opened a lot of doors for me in the music industry.
Hmm.
And and um, and the other thing too is because of that, like, it opened a lot of doors for me as well. And I only recorded to make my money back. I didn't realize all the doors that it was going to open for me, and
Hmm.
it was going to expose me to a totally different world. And I you know and oh, I'll go back to your question about how many albums. I'm just checking to see, because I
Yeah,
keep releasing all
I
the time.
counted five, six. I
I
think I
believe
counted
that. Yeah,
six.
I think I have about five
Yeah.
albums that I've released, and I'm working on another album with Gabriel Ayala. So we're still in the works of doing that. We're going to do a classical
Hmm.
CD. So hopefully that will be out within the next 6 months. And I've also been releasing a lot of singles,
Hmm.
and I think that's, for me, that it seems like that's the way to go right now, especially right now with COVID.
Yep.
And it keeps your name out there. People they're always wanting to hear new music, and sometimes they don't listen to the whole album.
Hmm.
So I just started uh, releasing singles.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm at right now with that.
Okay, let's go talk about the awards. The first award you got. Do you remember the first award you ever got in like music? Because you said you were really young when you got your first award, and then as you get older and start getting into different kind of music, and you get more awards. And like you said, you just wanted to release an album just to kind of, get your money back. And then all of a sudden you have all these doors opening up. Do you think awards open up more doors for you, or is it just like something to add more to the resume?
It adds to the resume, but
Hmm.
it also, when somebody hears you won an award, you're like, wow, because your peers are judging, or it's fan based award show, and you know what, when you win an award, you're getting your name out there, you're getting your exposure, and your music's getting heard out there.
Yep.
So I think it's a good platform for musicians to submit their
Hmm.
music in music award shows.
Yep.
So my first award was a Native American Music Award for Best World for my CD Kayas.
Hmm. Kayas, when was that? That was 2015. Was that
20,
Kayas ago?
2010 Kayas.
2010 Kayas.
And then the last award I won was with
Yep.
the Global Music Awards.
Yeah.
And I submitted my song 500, the first song that I ever wrote and
Hmm.
composed, called 500 Years. And it's a song I wrote about the history of Indigenous people. And I won the award for Best Protest Song. And the Global Music Awards is a huge award show,
Yep.
because musicians from all over the world submit to that award show, and for competition. And I won a bronze medal for that song.
500 years. Let's talk about the songwriting. Where do you get your influences from, and how would you describe your songwriting?
Well, when I wrote the song at the Banff Center, and I went there totally focused on songwriting, and
Mhm.
I was so focused that I didn't even want to talk to anyone there. When I was there, I kept to myself. I didn't want nobody's energy
Mhm.
coming into my space, because I
Mhm.
wanted all my energy to focus on the songwriting.
Mhm.
And when I first got in, I walked into my hut that I got, and this energy went through my body. I thought it was a ghost or something, but I felt something go through me. I was just like, whoa, like wind. I'm like,
Mhm.
holy, what was that?
Yep.
So I entered into my space. There was a grand piano there, and there was a desk and a chair, and there was a skylight. So I just observed my environment, and then I just lied on the floor, and just absorbed the whole room, the energy of the room. And all of a sudden I was flooded with all these emotions, and imagery came through to my head, and I started getting angry, I started getting sad, and I started getting excited, and I just jumped up from lying on the ground, and on the floor, and I just started writing. And it was
Mhm.
the time of the Harper government, and it wasn't, it wasn't a secret that he hated us. He came right out and told us that he hated us,
Yep.
Indigenous people, and he treated us horribly. And so that was part of the anger of my song, that when I wrote it, and
Mhm.
I had images of my mom when her hair was getting cut, when she was telling us about her experience when her hair got cut, and her hair got cut like about here, and it never grew. It never grew past that when she tried to grow her hair, it would never grow past her chin,
Mhm.
because of the trauma it caused her.
Yep.
And then the treaties that weren't honored, and the missing and murdered Indigenous women, and it was Idle No More was going on at the time, and all that everything just came to me, and I just started writing, and after I was done, I was just like, it was one afternoon that happened. and then
That's a
and I
lot.
it
That's a
is,
lot
and
to take in.
it took out so much energy out of me, and I was
Mhm.
crying when I was writing. I had to go back to my room and have a nap, because it took so much
Mhm.
of my energy and my emotions. So when I woke up from my nap, I went to go eat, and then I went back to my hut later on that evening, and I started composing my song, and that's the melody that came out, and the song that came out. That was
Mhm.
my first experience having writing a song. So I believe that the ancestors came channeled through me and used my body as a vessel to write that music, that song, and compose the melody.
500 years. Would you mind if we took a listen to that right now?
Sure.
Okay, we'll just share it with everybody here. I'm just going to pull it up here, and
Okay.
there is something spiritual about songwriting. And I always ask people, where does music come from? And everybody has a different answer, right? Whether it comes from your own experiences, whether it comes from our ancestors or from the universe. Either way, it has to come from someplace, right? And what you're talking about is a very spiritual thing. And of course, I believe in, our Creator. I believe in spirituality and everything, so to speak. Right? 500 years. Okay. And that process, it's sometimes draining for us artists and songwriters to come up with an idea, because you're triggering something inside your brain that's creating. And when you create, it takes a lot of energy. And when you're thinking about, okay, what did our people go through? It's hard emotionally on our brain, our heart, our soul. But I'm going to share it right here with everybody. And this one's called 500 Years by
500 years ago, across the sea they came, invaded our land, and took away our home. Mother shared a story, they cut her hair and braid, punished for speaking Cree. Why were they so mean? How do I get over it? 500 years of pain, past hurts are very haunting. Internalize the pain, the stories make me cry. Our people suffered so, stolen and abused. Genocide was here. Where have they all gone? Our sisters, moms, and friends. 1,200 souls of beauty, each one of them all loved. How do I get over it? 500 years of pain, past hurts are very haunting. Internalize the pain.
Hello, John, hey, hey. Hey, John, hey, hey, oh.
The treaties are not honored, the grass the color green, the rivers are a-flowing. Does this mean anything? 7 generations, they say it takes to heal, to rise above the sadness, move forward as we heal. How do I get over it? One story at a time, the hurt turns into anger. Each story just like mine, a prophecy was spoken, eagle and condor fly, side by side together, high up in the sky. A movement changed the world to save our Mother Earth. Our people danced together, each nation joined as one. How do I get over it? You tell me all the time. My wish for all humanity, to love and to be kind. My wish for all humanity, to love and to be kind.
Beautiful, just beautiful. The melody was good. It's a very tough subject, you know what I'm talking about. And right now, what we're going through is like, we're starting to unfold history a little bit at a time. And every residential school, the 126 that were in Canada, are starting to get revealed. And even just recently with our brothers in British Columbia and sisters in British Columbia with finding 215 children. That's a lot. And
That is
I
a lot.
think the last time we did any kind of work with Truth and Reconciliation, I think the last time we counted was around 60,000 children that were missing on paper. So that's a lot. And even one life lost is too much. So my mom just wanted to say, wow, great song, brings back so many memories and tears. Biggest fan is always my mom on these shows here I have. So there you go. That's a great song.
Thank you.
Did you go to, was it Banff Arts Center, or what was it called?
The
Because I
Banff Art
remember,
Center. Yeah.
yeah, Dale Mack was talking about this. Like, Jared, you got to go. You just got to go to Banff.
Oh yeah, so it's wonderful there. I do a lot of my songwriting there. It's such a magical place. And I don't know if it's the mountains or our ancestor that used to live there, but it's really lots of creating goes on there for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about, was just that's such a magical place. And it's,
Mhm.
I think it's easier to get inspired when you're in a certain setting. And if you're surrounded by the mountains and river and wildlife, anything and everything, I think it would be easier to write like that. And even if you're just focused 100%, then that's where I guess life can get you. So let's talk about some of the obstacles you had to overcome. Here's one question I wanted to ask you, was that you talked about you and your sister were the only ones only Indigenous kids that were in this music program. Have you always been kind of like a solo artist or solo Indigenous in predominantly? I don't know any other Indigenous people in opera, to be honest. So let's talk about that. Was that an obstacle for you, or something that you like really excelled at and just said, yeah, I'm deadly too?
I have a saying that I always say. I always say, I'm a peppercorn in a sea of salt. But you know what? I didn't care. That didn't matter to me because my
Yeah.
love for the music was more stronger than what people, if
Mhm.
they stereotyped me or if they
Nope.
didn't think that I shouldn't be there because of my Cree accent. I thought, well, wait till you hear me sing. I belong here just like you do. We both love the music, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna own my space here, and I did. I just stuck it out, and even with some of the obstacles I faced when I would always, like, I took a lot of private vocal. I went to
Mhm.
I got my lessons from private vocal teachers, and I always had the problem. When it didn't matter. Every time I'd find a teacher, I'm like, okay, and, I'd call them up and uh, and ask them for lessons. And I said, my vocal range is a mezzo soprano, and they're like, a lot of them would be like,
Really?
oh really, oh really,
Oh, really? Oh, you think you're
acting good, eh?
yeah. Till you prove I'm wrong. I love proving people wrong. I'm in the same boat.
So I said, yeah, and I thought, well, wait till they hear me sing, and it got so. It always happened. I was just like, okay, here we go again. And, like, I didn't even take it to the heart anymore. I just let it, like,
Yeah, like
flow
water off a
really
duck's
well.
back,
Yeah,
basically.
and I
You
thought,
get so
well,
used to it. Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And I thought, well, they changed their mind when they hear me sing, and it got to the point where they started calling me. They wanted, a lot of them started phoning me and wanting to for me to take lessons with them.
Mhm.
And I just want to talk about my first teacher. He never judged me or anything.
Mhm.
He told me as long as I have a nose, I could sing. So when he told me that, I knew he wasn't going to judge me for the color of my skin or my Cree accent.
Mhm.
And then my last teacher too, and who I still go and see, she never judged me neither, and she welcomed me into her home, and then we're really good friends, and she's strict. That's the way I like my teachers, and very disciplined. And but yeah, in between, I came across a lot of teachers that were very judgmental and they stereotyped me, but I proved them wrong.
I love that. That would be a triumph, right? So that rolls right into my next topic, my next question. So let's talk about anything you want to brag or boast about here. Here's where you get to shine and say, listen, I've done this, 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 this. These are the triumphs. Those were the obstacles. Here's what I overcome. Here's where I'm at now. So let's talk about the triumphs now.
Okay, well, as I've been moving on from my last CD and my second CD, like I started realizing that I could have input in my own recording. So that's one of the triumphs that I find in myself, is having a lot of input and co-producing the song that I write, and how creating the sound that I want to create and I want to hear. So that's one of the my triumphs, and just continuing to pursue the song and sound of music that I like to perform. I know there's a lot of country singers out there, and I I love country. I tried it, but I just couldn't feel it. So kudos to all the country singers out there. So I just stay true to the music that I love, and it's gotten me to where I am today, and I'm really happy. And the awards are and accolades that I've received, they're really nice to have, and it gives me um, that I'm on the right track, and to have that acknowledgement from our peers is one of the best things ever. And yeah, so that's some of my triumphs that I like to share.
The reassurance that you're on the right track, and sometimes it's like riding a roller coaster. Sometimes you're kind of doubting, yeah, is this the right track I'm on? But as soon as you start getting some recognition, and even a phone call could change your world. I know it does for me. Sometimes if I'm feeling down, I'll get a phone call saying, hey, listen, I just listened to your song, oh, it just changed my life. Or anything reassuring like that you're absolutely 100% on the right track. So which goes to my next question. What does it feel like? What does it feel like when you're up on stage?
How do I feel when I'm up on stage? That's a good question. Okay. When I'm up on stage, I know there's an audience out there. And I was told when I perform, I'm singing, they hear me in heaven. And when I'm singing for all our ancestors, and my parents that passed on, and that's who I'm singing for. And it feels so wonderful, and there's such a good feeling when you finish a song, and you feel that energy in the crowd when you got them. I know when I got them, it's so quiet, and it just gives me that energy bounces back to me. It gives me the strength to even put more feeling and emotion into my song. So it's a great place to be. And when I first started out, I was scared and nervous, but I just did it anyways. And that nervousness still comes out, but it gets less.
Yep.
And now I use it towards getting out my best performance.
Yeah. I was reading up on your website just before we got started here, and there was a book that you released, right? What was that one called?
I wrote a book called Mezzo Soprano Memoirs of a Res Girl.
Okay. What is that book about? Is that kind of like a biography, or is that kind of
Yeah, the
like
book
more
is
towards?
about a biography about my life on the res, and growing up on the res, sexual abuse, being neglected by my parents because of their residential school traumas. When on the weekend we'd be left alone
Mhm.
because they were coping with how they knew best. But during the week we were taken care of, and then go graduating from high school, how I got into music, powwow dancing, and just like everything happened in my life right up to that point of where I ended my book off. And my awards, my illness that I went through, and how I recovered from that. And yeah, just pretty well about my life up to the end of the book. And I'm planning to write um, a second edition, but not right now. I'm still adding chapters to the book.
Yeah. Still kind of unfolding as life kind of goes on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says here that you were a survivor of your brain tumor survivor. That's huge. I mean, that for anybody to have any sort of illness to overcome. How was that? Like, I don't want to bring it up, but I mean, like it's right in your bio. Like, that's something that I could never go through. I don't know how people survive. To be honest, it's Must be
I,
hard.
I don't mind talking about it at all because I
Mhm.
might be helping somebody out there who watches the program. But
Mhm.
what happened was when I was 21, I was diagnosed with a acoustic neuroma brain tumor, and you know, if any, to be honest with you, anyone that's been diagnosed with that, you know, you get into survival mode right away. So that's what happened with me, and I had to go through a lot of. It was a challenge in my life for sure. When I went through my surgery, it was 11 and a half hour surgery. The tumor was 3.2 centimeters. It was pressing against my brainstem, so I had to get it removed right away, or it would have taken my life.
Mhm.
And they, there's a lot of a lot of complications and new norm. We call them new normals happen after the surgery. Like I'm completely deaf on my right ear. You know, I have some facial paralysis on my right side, and I have vertigo, and I have short-term memory loss. So for me, learning a song, it takes me about a good 3 months to memorize a song, and then I have to keep um, practicing it over so I don't forget it.
Mhm.
So there's lots of challenges that happen, and if you know, if I had to go through, you know, if I went back and if I didn't have to go through it again, I don't know, because I don't know if you know, because of that happening in my life, I don't take life for granted. And you know, when I set a goal for myself, I try my best to you know, reach those goals all the time. It's I don't know. I don't know if it's a blessing in disguise, but you know, all the goals that well, about 90% of the goals that I give myself, I attain the goal, and if I don't, well, it's okay. I learned, it's a lesson, and I know that it doesn't work for me, and it might work for somebody else. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was, and then it grew back again in 2000. My other treatment I had was, it's called Gamma Knife.
Mhm.
And at the time when it grew back again, they didn't have it in Canada. So I had to lobby um, for the money to go and get the treatment done. And I got it done in San Diego. And after that happened, you know, I don't even worry. It worked for me, and it killed the tumor, and it'll never grow back. But I still get monitored all the time. So and I'm an advocate for creating awareness about brain tumor awareness. And May is Go Gray in May, and you know, that's
Mhm.
for brain tumor awareness, acoustic neuroma brain tumor awareness.
Okay. What was May called again? May go gray.
May Go Gray in May.
Go gray in May.
Yep. And you know, I've helped probably probably about a dozen people I've helped that I helped them through their brain tumor experience, because nobody knows how it feels unless you went through it yourself.
Yep.
And you know, it's a real scary. It is scary. I'm not gonna lie. And it hurt when I went through surgery. And those are just some of the challenges that came along with the cards that were dealt for me. And but I'm always happy to help other patients. And if anyone who's listening that has a tumor, or their family members, can reach out to me,
Mhm.
and I'll support them in any way that I can.
Mhm. Here's a question for you now. Where do people support your journey?
They can go to my music's available on iTunes. I'm available. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Music. You can get my book on iTunes as well, and on BookBaby.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty well on on all the musical digital platforms.
Okay. I'm just looking at your website here, and it's got everything on your website, like your book. It's got your music, the Kasagi Din, I Love You song is out right now. Merchandise is available soon. It says coming soon. What ideas do you have for merchandise? You got any ideas yet?
I have a T-shirt for Indigenous Superstars,
Yeah.
and a cell phone case.
Ooh, nice one. I'm gonna have to get those. And there's your Facebook page as well. So, you guys, I'll be posting this up on my Jared Lee page after our conversation is done here. But I just want to have a little heart to heart here with you, and before we end off the show. And I just think you're amazing. I mean,
Thank you.
for what you've told me so far, when I first met you, I only got the tip of the iceberg, and now that I interviewed you, I think I got a little bit more an in-depth perception of how your life is like, and that's the whole reason why I started the show, was because I want to let people know that as artists, there's so much more to just the music than what they hear on the radio or what they download or what they click and they like. That there is, human beings behind the stories, and that everybody's got a story, and they can share it right here on the Backstage Pass. And I just want to thank you for also inviting me onto your show, the Indigenous Superstars. Really appreciate that. You're awesome, and
Thank
you're
you. You're
deadly, and you're awesome. And I know you use that word a lot, but I was going to bug you about it. So you are awesome. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
we'll just leave it at that, and we'll leave everybody off with what song did you want to leave off, and I'll just let it play towards the end of the show here.
Okay, Kasagitin, I Love You, the one I recorded with the Prague Orchestra.
Okay, that sounds good. Where did you record that?
We actually recorded it through Zoom because of the of COVID.
Yeah.
So it was a real incredible experience. They told me that I was the first Indigenous person that they worked with,
Yeah.
and also the first Indigenous language that they worked with too. So it was really exciting. That was one of my dreams that that well, I got to see my dream like unfold before me and on camera on Zoom.
You know,
I cried when I did this. I was watching that.
your story reminds me a lot of like, okay, when Ray Charles first got started, he starts off with just the piano, and then he goes into like playing with other different people, and then all of a sudden he plays with like this big orchestra. That'd be kind of like a dream of mine, just to be able to take one of my songs and have all these instruments and all these professionals backing me up just for one song. Even if the production cost me $200,000, by God, I want to do it just to
It's
see what it
so
would come up with.
incredible.
So that's
Totally
awesome.
incredible.
So here we go. We got a song by Rhonda Head. We're going to end the show off right here. Thank you for being on the Backstage Pass, Rhonda. Really
Thank you for
appreciate your
having me.
music and how hard you've been working and everything that you've went through. It's for a bigger purpose. It's for our people. And thank you for being on the Backstage Pass. Kasagitin, I love you. That's what the song means. So here we go.
Kipeten kesagiten
Beautiful, just beautiful. This has probably been the best backstage pass I've had thus far in terms of like filling my heart so much. I'm very reassured that what I'm doing in my life is right on point and on purpose. And for those of you that watch this, by all means, if you're having any problems or issues, feel free to reach out. And next week, I have a very special guest as well, Brandon Baker from Electric Religious. So 1 week from now, Electric Religious is going to be on here. This guy's awesome. This guy went to #1. Great guy. Got to meet him at the Indigenous Music Residency last year in Manitoba. Would have been 2 years now. Forgot that our last year didn't really happen. 2020 did not exist. It is what it is. But thank you guys for coming out, listening to the Backstage Pass right here on YouTube and also on Facebook. You guys stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for coming up, folks.